Okay, Tracy and everybody from Linwood. Tracy, do you want to come forward and do yours first, or do you want everybody to come at once? How would you like to? We'll all come together? Okay, so welcome everyone. Gerald, you just organise them.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Gerard from Linwood Primary School. Ruth Dyson, our local MP, was going to be with us in lead today, but she's held up in Wellington. So we're obviously a group of folks representing the Linwood community in relation to the spread of fast food outlets, increasing spread of fast food outlets in the area, particularly in close proximity to schools, early childhood centre and families. So Tracy's gathered a petition in recent time, and so Tracy is going to speak first and then we'll go from there. Folks, so come forward and appreciate your time with us this morning. It's really fantastic.
Thank you. Just so council is aware, normally a petition would be allowed 5 minutes, so I've allowed these guys at least 15, and if they go over, I won't be.
We'll just blame me.
Blame me, yeah. Welcome everyone. So Tracy?
Hey.
Do you want to start?
And?
No, start. Sorry, feel free to stay seated, it's not a problem.
Okay, yes. My name's Tracy Charnock. I'm a concerned mother from Linwood Avenue School, and after I noticed the KFC being built straight across the road from my son's school, I was thinking, is this okay? You can see the advertisement straight from the classrooms and the playground, and once it was opened, all you can smell is the smell of KFC inside the school gates. So I had no idea this KFC had been reallocated to the school until I'd seen it being built there. I put my concerns out there to social media to see if anyone else had felt the same way as me. With a huge response, I decided to speak to the principal, or to find that schools don't actually have a say of what gets built on the proximity of a school. So as a mother, to me, this was quite concerning. Communities and schools are all about promoting healthy eating, yet unhealthy KFC can be built straight across the road from my son's school with no consent. To me, this is very contradicting. So I decided to go to the media about this and start my petition. As a mother, I encourage healthy eating in my home. Schools promote healthy eating in schools, and communities are working together for healthier community. Yet I feel this is undermined when fast food outlets can build so close to a school. No restrictions, no limitations, and no consent. Linwood here is a low socio-economic area with 2 schools in the area and a cluster of fast food established here. Rumours to be more. And I don't know if you can see in here, the school is down here. All these coloured dots are all the fast food outlets clustered around the school. This is Linwood Avenue Primary. And behind all these clusters is the supermarket. Living in a low socio-economic area with low income, I understand the struggles of eating healthy, plus feeding my family within a budget. I admit it is easier sometimes giving in to the convenience these fast food chains have to offer. Majority living in these areas do struggle with lack of education, budgeting, cooking skills, transport and lack of time, with added stresses of trying to provide for your family to keep them healthy. There's not a lot of exposure to healthy food options, and it's more expensive to nurture your child than just fill them up. We seem to be fighting a losing battle when it comes to the health of our children. After much research conducted in New Zealand by Peter Day, including Christchurch, about fast food outlets clustered around schools, it's found that fast food outlets are 3 times more likely to build within a low decile area. But what's more concerning is that they're 5.5 times more likely to build within the close proximity of a school. They don't build in any section by coincidence. There are underlying marketing motives for where they build, and a number of how many are getting built is vastly increasing. Another study in New Zealand conducted in Christchurch about the clustering of fast food outlets around schools shows that over a 40-year study, 1966 to 2006, the median number of fast food outlets over this time has increased from 1 to 4. And yet, going back to my concerns earlier about the lack of healthy food options, supermarkets have decreased from 5 to 1. This is all within an 800 metre radius of a school, all compared from low decile areas having higher significance compared to the higher decile areas. These results speak volumes when it comes to their targets of their marketing. I also just want to briefly touch on the strong correlation between obesity, other health risks, living in low socio-economic areas, and more than other compared areas, the amount of fast food restaurants within a close proximity of schools. This is significant worldwide, excluding cultural factors, of course. There's a relationship between all three, and this is a concern as New Zealand has one of the highest rates of obesity. Since I started this petition, these fast food outlets being built in close proximity to schools, talking to people in the community and putting it out there through the media, this has created a fast response and a new discussion of thought. I've received a large support in favour of these concerns that I've addressed. Today I have a total of 779 supporters, 134 online and 645 on paper. I have it all printed out to give to you, including all the comments, all the online comments in favour of. With many significant health issues New Zealand face, and we are on the rise due to environmental exposures, we need to come together to make positive solutions within the environment we are exposed to. By making a bylaw to restrict these fast food chains from building within an 800 metre radius of a school, especially in low decile areas, can eliminate health risks in children by not being faced with the daily fast food advertising seen within a school while being taught about healthy eating in schools, reduces convenience and temptation of the addictive foods by out of sight within the school radius, gives schools and families and communities the power back to endorse healthy eating without being contradicted or undermined by these unhealthy outlets, out of sight, out of mind for these kids. And most of all, it gives people a say. My recommendations to the Council is to use the Health Act Section 64 bylaw subclause A, which is improving and promoting or protecting public health and preventing abating nuisances. Part 2, to make bylaws under for the purpose of this Act and any other authorising making bylaws for the protection of our health, or the Local Government Act subclause B, which is protecting and promoting and maintaining public health and safety. There's been a lot of positive results over the globe. Dublin, for example, has put in a bylaw against fast food being restricted around schools. That's just recently in 2016. Also, California done a 3-year ban on new fast food restaurants. The Community Health Council has published a report that cites that health data showing obesity and diabetes rates had dropped between the time of 2007 and 2011. Follow up a year later, a community health assessment in 2012 followed up a community health improvement plan. So they put in a healthy food zones. So this would allow existing restaurants to continue operation but ban fast food licenses in those areas close to schools. There's a strong correlation between issues raised to do with the children, low socio-economic areas, cluster of fast food chains built in close to schools worldwide. Similar issues faced resolved in banning future stores in the area, building too close to schools, promoting healthy food zones and making bylaws and zonings. These countries are below us as we have one of the highest rates of obesity and health risks. So for there, yeah, children are willing to make restrictions to protect the health of our children also. If we can make a bylaw or a district plan to restrict the fast food from building near schools, especially in low areas, and promote a more positive, healthier approach, like the healthy food zones or the no-fry zones. I would like to see a reduction in the health risks in our children, like in other areas of the world that have faced similar issues, yet resolved in positive outcomes. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me on behalf of all my supporters as well that are about this, and now you have an opportunity to make a change for the health of our children.
Thank you, Tracy. And I'm thinking that some other people are going to speak as well. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Dick, you and the girls want to...
Yep, we'll go next. We'll let the girls introduce themselves.
I'm Kayla Hoskins. I'm Harriet Helms.
Okay, and
Yep.
now do you.
Doing some research, I found that New Zealand is the third most obese country and that nearly 1 of 3 adults will suffer from obesity. Obesity increases chances of type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, which is an increasing problem in New Zealand, high blood pressure, some cancers, gallstones, and breathing problems such as sleep apnea. These are only the physical problems. The mental problems are things ranging from disoriented peer relationships to depression. This needs to change. Sorry. The placing of the food chains is just evil. They know that Linwood is a poor area, and they placed it there on purpose because that's where they can make the most money due to certain circumstances. I think that the problem could easily be solved by putting a healthy restaurant that appeals to adolescents, and maybe having a gym or someplace that promotes exercise for teens, and yeah, also teaching adults about reading the back of the packet and the nutrition table, because they need to know that just as much as kids do. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think there are definitely too many fast food outlets at Eastgate, 6 to be precise. One of the worst is KFC, that is opened right across the road from Linwood Primary, which makes it almost irresistible for many students from Linwood Primary and Linwood College on their walk home from school. Now, don't get me wrong, I eat fast food, but it's definitely something that needs to be eaten in moderation, because too much of it can lead to a variety of health problems that are very common in New Zealand, such as diabetes and obesity. So what's one of the things that we could do to draw people away from it? I was thinking, and I think that something needs to be opened that would just reduce the amount, and I pinpointed the ideas of why the students go to Burger King, and I asked some of my friends, and they said, I go there for the free Wi-Fi, and I go there because it's good food. So if we got a place that had free Wi-Fi that would attract some of the students, but then it had healthier food options, and I'm not meaning just an apple, because obviously they'd still go to Burger King, but maybe if it had fruit, but also some kind of thing that looked like a delicious brownie that actually had more nutritional stuff in it than a burger, you know? And so I think that that needs to be done, just something to change the amount of students that go there, because 90% of my friends go there after school at least 4 days a week. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming.
Anything else you want to say?
I'll just quickly add, thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm Dick Edmondson, the principal, Linwood College. Started this year, so I know some of you. It's not, we are representing Linwood, but it's of course not just a Linwood problem. So there's two things going on in my head. We want a strong Linwood for a strong East, for a strong Christchurch, but the wider side. I was previously principal at Hornby High School, and that was the one with the Cows Junior and the liquor licence. So this is a wider problem than what we are facing here. I would encourage you, if you haven't been to the Linwood Ave Aldwins Road intersection, where Linwood Ave School is at, go there and see the bank of multinational globalisation. And I do get that everyone needs to make a buck, and we're a democracy, and we need to be business friendly, and at the same time the social responsibility that ought to come with it. Kayla used the word evil. That's a really interesting word to use there, and it certainly made me think about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dick.
Jane and Richard from the Linwood Medical Centre are going to speak next.
Right, I'm Jane Hetherington. I'm the Medical Director of Linwood Medical Centre, and we've been part of the community for 35 years, and we see the direct effect of fast food on our patients. In Linwood, we've got a higher proportion of obese and overweight children than the rest of Christchurch. We have obese children who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol and sleep apnea. We see the poor diet affects their learning and their mood. We see parents with diabetes and arthritis and liver damage, and then we see their grandparents with heart disease, renal failure, amputations, kidney failure, and early deaths 20 years earlier from these diseases. We give as much support and education as we can, but we need your help to regulate to address the environment. Healthy choices should be the easy choice for our community. Regulation of fast food is supported by a large body of scientific evidence, by Pegasus, by the DHB, by the New Zealand Medical Association, and the World Health Organization. The World Health uses New Zealand as an example of failure of self-regulation. It is not working, and countries who regulate, for instance, who choose to keep fast food a distance from school have seen a decrease in obesity. It's a difficult problem, but if we work together, and if you choose to do some regulation, you can really make a difference to our community and our city. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. My name is Dr. Richard Griffiths. I instigated Linwood Medical Centre's involvement in the current crisis, as I call it, regarding the burgeoning number of fast food outlets, because I see them as compromising and eroding our mission in providing effective medical care to this community. And I would say that 90%, probably more, of the presenting complaints we see are more or less the consequence of poor lifestyle choices by individuals trapped in the poverty cycle. This often directly translates into unhappy, unfortunate choices for their children. Day in and day out, I am confronted by patients with cardiovascular disease, diabetes and arthritis, and overriding all is the elephant in the room, obesity. Day in and day out, I am confronted by adult obesity and of even greater concern, childhood obesity. Day in and day out, I see families with very little insight making poor nutrition choices. Fast food is seen as a daily outing, often after school. Daily on my drive into work, I am confronted by not one or two, but several, and more planned, examples of the worst so-called fast food outlets within a quarter of a kilometre of our centre. I am affronted, indeed furious, at the ease with such an abomination, for example KFC, is able to be sited across the road from the local school, a cynical ploy. Please do not advance the increasingly specious argument of personal choice. Children, apart from these eloquent ones here, for example, are easily led, influenced and persuaded by unsubtle on-street advertising. I am personally appalled by the lax ongoing attitude of government to the overriding problem of this country, child abuse. Poor nutrition is part and parcel. It is not something to invest in. I am inviting you to show backbone, commitment and respect for this community and stand up to these companies by reining in the apparent ease by which they establish themselves without consultation. Please do not put this in the too hard basket. It is too important. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Richard. I'm Di from the Teen Parent Unit, which is linked to Linwood College.
Yeah, we're hosted by Linwood College. I'm Diane Atkins from Kimahia, and we're currently in Woolston, opposite the Woolston Primary. We will be part of the rebuild with Linwood and moving down there. I've been charged to look after the well-being and the health of these teen parents. We've got about 24 on site at the moment. Some of them are pregnant, some of them have children. And they're very concerned not only for themselves, because they can't help themselves sometimes, and they are in the same area as these children. We want to become water only, and we can achieve it where we are, but when we move down to Linwood, it's going to be very difficult for us because the opportunities just down the road are going to be very tempting. But the mothers are concerned. They want to be healthy. They're trying really hard, and we're encouraging them. But they have babies that they want in the future to be healthy, and what we're leading to is it's going to be worse for them. So I just want to support this and encourage you, please, to help us somehow. Thank you very much for your time.
Right, so I'll just close by reading a brief statement that Ruth would have shared with us if she'd been here, and then just a couple of points myself. So from Ruth, sorry to look down and read. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you today. This deputation is speaking on behalf of families in Linwood and other low-income areas who are fed up with being targeted by fast food outlets. We want the council to stop the proliferation of these outlets, particularly in their close proximity to schools. Some facts that drive this plea. New Zealand has the third highest, I should say, adult obesity rate in the OECD, and rates are rising. The consequence is huge health implications and societal and financial costs. New Zealand has a childhood obesity plan. World Health Organisation says childhood obesity is an urgent public health concern. University of Canterbury research confirms the rapidly increasing fast food outlets in close proximity to schools, and particularly in low-income areas. The studies show that fast food outlets are 4.5 times more likely to be built near schools and highest in lower decile areas. In Christchurch from 1966 to 2006, supermarkets within 800 metres of schools decreased by 5 to 1. Fast food outlets, in contrast, increased by 1 to 4. The Public Health must be the Act, contains provision which gives powers and duties to local government to make bylaws for protection of public health. This is a clearly identified problem. It's an opportunity to explore opportunities to solve this problem, and I urge you all to take the opportunity. We're not asking for existing outlets to be closed. They've opened under existing rules and have the right to be there. What we are asking is that you develop new rules as a solution to this problem for the good of the citizens of our city. So some key agency points here from Ruth. Just briefly in closing from myself, clearly there's an agreed challenge, and we've got common goals in New Zealand around healthy outcomes, healthy lifestyles. Everyone's on board with that. It'd be a brave person to stand up and say, I don't agree with that. And we want to start those pathways of healthy lifestyles with children in schools. So schools give it their best shot, but we don't have a collective response to it, and we don't have a shared commitment to it. We have a fragmented response to it. Schools go the extra mile. I could list some of the things we do around fruit schools and so on, but you can find that out if you need to. And schools are charged with meeting the obligations under the health curriculum. Schools are also a great place for society to park its conscience. We like to leave things to education, hand it over to schools. Can't do it on our own. Can't do it with one hand tied behind our back because the rest of society, the market as we call it, are making other decisions which are valid to some extent, but they need to be regulated, just as we regulate other things in society. We do it when it suits us and there's benefits around property rights or traffic rights or where you can fish and where you can park your speedboat at a lake or something. So why don't we do it with this? It is difficult. Yes, it's absolutely difficult to do, and I know you guys will have some challenges around it, and I know it involves central government as well. But having a $1 billion health budget is difficult. Having to find a kidney for an adult in the future is difficult. Having a child in front of you as a teacher whose brain development and physical development is interrupted because of poor nutrition is difficult. So we're all on the difficult boat. Let's just paddle the blasted thing and get ourselves somewhere that's a better outcome for kids. Sorry about the rant. Much appreciated, guys. That's a good rant.
Thank you all very much indeed. That was incredibly impressive. Given that I've gone so far over time, are there any questions?
Yeah.
I might as well just do away with the time now. Ellie.
I totally support what you're saying. I agree with you entirely, with children of my own too, and thank you for what you've said. It was incredibly eloquent, especially to you two young girls there. My question is, where do you draw the line? I'm just thinking about how you control advertising for those awful drinks, those V drinks and caffeine full of, filled drinks as well, pies, sausage rolls, fish and chips. How do you see a way to manage that kind of unhealthy eating and food? Do you say only big signs from multinationals or global corporates? Have you thought about that?
Can I give you an example in response to that as to what's happening in Linwood? We've recently shifted from the site that we were on the corner there, Linwood Medical Centre, into the mall, the Eastgate Mall. I guess what's going on our side?
It's food. That's food.
Yet another burger bar. That's a burger bar next to KFC. And this burger bar is going to be facing the school.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. What I'm asking is, where do you draw the line?
I think that my response to that would be that it requires really good heads in the room who understand local government law, central government law, district plans, bylaws, and I think there's some work to be done to answer that question. I couldn't answer it, but I think there has to be work to be done on it, and it can't be put into too hard baskets.
Somewhere.
Glenn?
Thank you. Just a question, Tracy. Yeah, thanks. It probably comes as no surprise that the cynical placement of these matches the cynical placement of poker machines and liquor outlets too in lower socioeconomic communities. We have data over that. So I'm just thinking, parent to parent, when it comes to fresh fruit and veggies, do you find, is it fair to say that for a lot of parents it's probably cheaper and quicker to go for fast food as opposed to fruit and veggies, that actually they're pretty expensive?
Yes, this day and age it is a lot more easier, and it seems to be a lot more convenient when they're so close to an area, so close within an area.
Yeah. Is that got to be careful here over generalisations, but is that an observation you could make about your area, that it seems to be easier for people to...
Well, on the main roads there, especially the main intersection, at every corner there's large advertisements for the fast food. there is a Countdown there, which is the only building, I would say, maybe Subway as well, I'm not too sure what the class Subway is, that would sell healthy food in a store, but that's in the background there.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
No, it's all good.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's some outstanding marketing, very successful models internationally that are leading these guys to their successful sales, and of course the decisions that adults make aren't always the best decisions we want them to make.
Yeah.
So we need to get in there for kids.
Okay, Paul.
Look, I'm just going to reflect back to what Dick was saying around, it's problems a little bit wider than just Linwood. It's a crisis issue, but if we're the third worst obesity rate in the world, it's actually a New Zealand problem.
Is there a question, Paul?
Well, the question is that what you're actually asking us to do is to lead the charge.
Yeah, we are. And in response to Councillor Cotter's,
It's Jones.
We're getting it wrong all the time.
You're kidding.
They want another mix.
Look at they're like the twins.
I think it's actually clear where to start, because which ones are doing the most damage? I haven't seen advertising for sausage rolls recently. Perhaps more's the pity, you know. But there are very, very powerful advertising forces in our faces, and they are the ones who are doing the most damage. So we do need to think this thing through carefully, but we don't want to overthink it at the start, that we don't actually start somewhere. So for goodness sake, as Jared said, we're all on the difficult boat together, and there is some things which are staring us in the face.
Okay. Thank you all very, very much
do you mind
indeed.
if I ask one, Vicky?
Oh, sorry, Jamie.
Yeah, it's all right. I think we're all on the same page with this, and I think all of us are really impressed with you all today, so thank you. Tracy, you might be best placed to try and help me troubleshoot this one, but in a bid to wanting to help, what are those countries or cities that have been successful in this? How have they defined fast food? How do you define fast food and how do you define not fast food? You know, there's McDonald's that has salad options fast food, there's Subway fast food, Tank Juice Bar. You know, how do we help?
Food.
What's that?
Well, Subway, I'm guessing to some extent is healthy, or it's a healthy alternative. So we could change this term to unhealthy fast food outlets.
Is that done on a calorie count, or
calorie count?
How do the success stories do that? Where do they put that line? Because we all want to help, but we just want to know how we can iron out those definitions, because that's the tricky part.
My personal definition is more these big corporations out there like Burger King, McDonald's, KFC. That's what I would class fast food as. But also, yes, you do have like the smaller businesses like fish and chips that are also unhealthy.
And
not as fast though, because you've got to wait 10 minutes for them to cook that, whereas you can just go through a drive-through, you know. And like sometimes like you don't get your burger in a minute, you get it free. I think sometimes they put out there for their marketing. So,
but have we then won if we don't have McDonald's with their fruit bags and all that sort of stuff, and you get a whole row of fish and chip places and $1 pie shops and those burger joints that you were talking about? Because I don't.
Yeah, like the small businesses in a small wee shop, whereas these other larger corporations are like larger buildings, larger advertising, and larger car parks. They have car parks.
That's a good
I think the lawmakers have really been challenged over time, having to draw lines of time around different laws. And we don't always get it right, but that doesn't stop us having a go. So I think we have to have a go.
I think we all agree it's difficult, and those are the challenges, but we're on the same page.
I'll look into it.
Thanks, Jamie. Very last question. The last question from Tim.
I guess, if you look at it very simply, and I really like what you were saying about don't overthink it, because the issue is fast food. And what Jamie was saying before about what is, what isn't, there are libraries full, I'm sure now, of definitions and all the information, etc. What I think would be really good for us as a council to look at is
there a question?
Yeah, it is. With regards to us as a council, if we just put a pin in each school and drew a line, say half a K out or whatever it was, and just drew a big circle around each one and just said, look, you can't have fast food here, irrelevant of its definition, is that the easiest way? I mean, the issue is fast food, it's proximity to schools. We could spend months, years debating the quality of each, Carl's Jr. to KFC, to da-da-da-da-da, and let's leave that to the experts. There are examples overseas that it works. Why don't we just look at doing something as simple as that to start the ball rolling?
That'd be fantastic.
I suppose it was a question.
It was almost a question.
Yeah, it's creative question.
Two principals in the room, I think they'd be struggling. Okay, thank you very, very much indeed. What we'll do, guys, is take, actually, if it's okay with the Littleton people, what we'll do is take the fast food one first and then your one next. Is that okay? Peter, Therese? Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Okay, you guys can go and sit and relax in the audience.